Today we have reached week 90 of Economy Chat Let's Talk Business with Mr. Daniel Steinman. A warm welcome to all our listeners, and of course also a warm welcome to Mr. Daniel Steinman. I'm your hostess, and today we are talking about the budget.
What about it, Elsie?
There's so much that we can talk about in regards to the budget, because there was a lot of speculation in regards to the budget. You, on the other hand, speculated, like, can I say 110%, correct?
Indeed I did.
Yeah.
But you have to give the credit to the system.
Yeah, also.
Remember, I've often spoken about the fairly dramatic change of direction that happened in 2003 with the adoption of the IMF framework, the so-called medium-term expenditure framework.
Yeah.
So now, almost 20 years later, or just about 20 years later, we have developed a certain maturity in the budgeting process, and you can see it in the confidence that the minister has to rely on the figures of the previous budget. Now, if you look at what's driving this budget, let me first put it into context. There's an estimated GDP of nearly 240 billion. That's very good, and we were spot on, you and I, in our analysis. And there is, you have to distinguish between two platforms. The main budget last year, which was delivered in the third week of February 2023, and the mid-year review, which is the adjusted budget that was delivered at the end of October last year. So why I point this out is because in the speech it is not always clear, or it can lead to confusion when the minister cited certain statistics on growth, whether it's based on the main budget, the original budget, or whether it is based on the mid-year review, the adjusted budget. But that's a bit technical, a bit splitting of hairs, which I'm sure our listeners would not want to do. The big overall picture is that if you look at what's driving this budget, this deep-seated confidence, which wasn't there always, you know. It's a post-COVID thing.
Yeah.
So revenue increased roughly 11% on the main budget, 12% on the other way around. Revenue increased by about 12% on the main budget, or the original budget, and by about 11% on the mid-year review, the adjusted budget. So let's say it increased by between 11 and 12%. So immediately the expenditure for this budget was increased by just over 11%. The adjusted budget of last year brought us to expenditure of 89.6 billion. You can say basically 90 billion. And the expenditure for now in the main budget is 100.1 billion. First time in our history that we reached the 100 billion figure. It's a big milestone for us.
It is.
But the bigger thing, the more important thing, is what I refer to as when I say the confidence of the minister in relying on the figures. And why do I say that? It's easy to draw up a set of national accounts because you've got all the data. It comes in from all the regions and all the offices and ministries and agencies. And although it's almost a year behind the fact, it's very reliable. You know, after 33, 34 years, we've come to the point where our statistical ability is not first world, but it is certainly far above the norm for third world. We have a very solid statistical foundation, and the statistics that we get in and the way that it's processed, or the data that we get in and that the way that it's processed into statistics is highly evolved. You know, it always amazes me when I when I go to one of these presentations and I see those guys explaining to us how they crunch the numbers, because that's what they do. You get a lot of raw data, and now you have to make something. You have to extract something meaningful from it. So if you extract gibberish, like they did in Zimbabwe for 10 years, then you end up with gibberish. And eventually you end up with hyperinflation, and you end up without a currency, and eventually you basically end up without an economy. We are absolutely the contrapoint to that. Statistics are they representative, they are they cover a wide area, and they are reliable. Now, if you look at the economy, you remember that we talked about growth and everything, and the expected growth for last year is going to come out at about 4.6%, very similar to 2022. And now we need to keep our bearings on track. The only definite figure we've got is 2022. That's when it grew 4.6%. Now, and the expectation for 2023 was about 3.6, 3.8, but substantially slower, because I've explained that high base, low base thing. Now, you have to remember that the only person, we don't have the 2023 data yet. We'll only have it in July, August with the national accounts. But the minister is well informed.
Very much.
Yes, and it's not, I'm not teasing him, or it's not a joke, we hope the minister is well informed. He is well informed. Fait accompli. And so the budget speech is the first tangible indication for the ordinary guy in the street like you and I in what direction the economy is going. And later in our talk I want to come back to this, the direction of the economy, because can you remember that I said our debt is nothing?
Yes.
Well, I'm going to talk about it a little bit more when we come back.
Okay, let's quickly go for that short break.